Today on Locked On Rockies, putting a bow on the final homestand of the 2025 season, including a big storyline we didn't talk about in the crossover, the possible final home start for Germán Márquez. All that and looking ahead to the Mariners series and more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies Locked On Podcast. The Locked On Podcast, just locked on to everything. Locked On Rockies podcast here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel and on your favorite streaming services. I am your host, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Colorado Rockies podcast of the Locked On Podcast Network, the Locked On Rockies podcast. And I'm distracted because I just realized I have a typo on my overlay. Well, I think we're going to live with it, folks. I think we'll be okay. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And we are also on YouTube, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, which so many of you done throughout the season. Really have supported the show, folks. We really do appreciate it. Really have helped the show grow, even throughout some tumultuous times. Slow down a little bit, but that's all right. I understand completely. If you like the show, go and check on come on, hang out with us. We're going to be rocking and rolling throughout the off season here. As Jim says, way to go, Rockies. Nice to see how Locked On hosts can come together and be respectful regardless of the situation. Really great chat with Locked On Angels yesterday. I think they're talking with John, figuring out everything and just kind of diving into all of the good stuff, the bad stuff, and just kind of big picture stuff about both teams after a pretty good series for the Rockies. But one thing we didn't talk about, of course, the final homestand for Germán Márquez. I want to talk about that a little bit and just kind of how there's some kind of there's a little bit of symbolism, I think, in it. And I want to talk about that kind of a little bit more. And of course, here's really the big thing too, as we look to the final 6 games of the season, as we get ready for the Rockies taking on the Mariners here, a situation where, this is 6 more games of opportunities for a lot of guys to establish themselves. And I think this was a really good point that we heard in the crossover yesterday too, from John, of just like, this is your moment. This is you've worked your whole life to get to this point. Even still, no matter what the record is, no matter what, all of that doesn't matter for a lot of guys on the Rockies roster. So this is the chance. This is the opportunity. This is where you're, where to kind of take off, have some moments, do stuff like Krim, hit some home runs, make your mark heard. Even if the Rockies end up losing, at least give the Rockies something to think about going into the offseason, which should be a busy one. I want to read a little bit from a Purple Road piece as well in this episode. So lots to cover, lots to do. Before we go any further, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So I wanted to kind of talk about what was what could be a massive story, or for the Rockies at least. We're talking about one of the great Rockies pitchers. I mean, they're overall, it's kind of interesting as I was kind of scrolling through. I don't know if it was just these last few seasons that kind of have sunk Germán in some areas like team ERA and WHIP and batting average allowed in overall Rockies record, but Germán Márquez is 3rd overall in wins for the Colorado Rockies. Unfortunately, if he does not return, he'll finish his career under 500 in terms of wins and losses, which is unfortunate. Kind of crazy as you look here. Not a ton, but a few Rockies pitchers that have above 500 records, and but some of the big names also have some below 500 marks as well. But 3rd in wins for the Colorado Rockies. He is 1st in strikeouts for the Colorado Rockies. In terms of innings pitched, he's 3rd. 1,142 innings pitched for the Rockies. The Rockies' first ever 1,000 strikeout pitcher, 1,068 from Germán Márquez here. 68 wins in his time, and 4.64 career ERA, 200 and 2 games when you're which is pretty crazy too. And if you just think about if that wasn't cut from injury, how much that would increase for him as well. But over 200 games played, over 1,000 innings pitched for the Rockies here, the most innings pitched in Rockies history. And I wonder how you can. I guess that's a good sign. I mean, you're pitching a lot of innings. That's a good thing. It's. I just wonder if that there might be some people looking for an asterisk there, but that might have been it. And what's really unfortunate, I think, about not only how Germán's season went and possibly Rocky's career, not career in general. I think there will be plenty of people that could probably say we can do something the Rockies aren't. We can rebuild. We can figure something out. We can help you. Now, on the other side, you could certainly, as some people have, I've seen, routine on a team friendly deal, and try to be a trade chip for the team next season. Certainly an option. But I think if I'm Germán, I think just like I think with almost every other Rockies veteran, I think you're ready to move on at this point. Maybe Kyle, I don't think Kyle's ever going to make a stink out of it. I don't, of course, now with that, I mean, I just think I think that Germán, Antonio Senzatella, Kyle Freeland, especially those 3. I mean, they're really the only 3 left to kind of point at from that era. The Rockies moving on from Ryan McMahon. It's the last connection to what can be just summarized as disappointing. And I think that label fits to those pitchers. And again, I really think that I'm a big Germán and big Kyle Freeland guy. It really stinks to see how Germán's possible last season, and I put possible because you never know with the Rockies, possible last season with the team on the line and how it ended. But these are guys that overall for their careers have performed. Germán Márquez, according to Baseball Reference, is a career 16.8 WAR player. Now, unfortunately, he was a 0.2 WAR player, and then of course, in only the 2 starts that he had is injured, and then the end of the contract here and the rebound, it goes like this. Because overall, Germán Márquez has been awesome, has contributed, has been successful for the Rockies. And it's just kind of a bummer that on top of how this team went from being a playoff team, getting to where it's at, we had to go through this too. We had to go through the season and everything, watching players that, again, I liked. I mean, Antonio Senzatella has kind of been an up and down thing throughout that throughout the career, but to see that chapter possibly close, it was just kind of that last final thing. And it wasn't like it's not as overly dramatic as it used to be. But if Germán leaves, whatever the Rockies end up doing with Senzatella and Kyle Freeland, I mean, they're both owed a lot of money. They're both in weird spots. With Senza going to the bullpen, doesn't sound like he was a very big fan of that. Could be some stuff going on there. Who knows? But for it to end this way, kind of for the true final bit of the core of the team and such important pieces of getting the Rockies to the postseason those years. Germán Márquez in 2017, 11-7, 4.39 ERA and 162 innings pitched, 147 strikeouts that year. 2018, 230 strikeouts, over 196 innings pitched, going 14-11. I mean, when he was on, he was just one of the best in the business. I mean, man, when that All-Star season and just those moments where he got close, there were just flashes where he was just so good. And kind of that says with that whole entire rotation. And now Germán Márquez, Antonio Senzatella, Kyle Freeland, they just join the list of Rockies that, hey, cool guys, cool story, cool this. Senza, I'm being kind of generous too compared to the overall career success of Freeland and Germán. But it's just like, oh, so that's how it ends. the last rotation of pitchers that got us to the playoffs. It ends in really tough seasons overall for all of them, and especially for one that was considered to be the best. To look just like a different version of himself, and the injury. I mean, it's very clear. You can point to that and everything. It just kind of makes it just even a little bit more disappointing as a fan, where it's just like, man, I loved when these guys were on a roll. I didn't doubt as much. There were people that certainly expressed some doubts and some hesitations about signing the extensions for these guys. And you know, hindsight's 2020 about how it's all panned out. But Germán was a guy that I always really had, really just man, when he could just lock in, when he was just locating his stuff, when he was striking people out, it was just phenomenal stuff. And I really thought him coming back, and again, I was just naive to just how in serious recovery and rehab is, mixed with just Rockies, and underestimated it. But my whole thing there is I saw that, and I just kind of felt like, man, what a missed opportunity again. It's just kind of a reminder of just these guys, and however their careers end with the Rockies, or whatever it means, or whatever's next for those three players in particular. It's just kind of like, so that's how it ends. It really just the last remnants of what could have been, what was a great team, a playoff caliber team. That's how it ends. And it's a bummer. It's a real big bummer, because I just was it was just such a different, nearly a decade ago, or like, back, I guess it is, I mean, 7 straight losing seasons, back now a near decade ago, how different it felt with these guys, just how different it looked, how different the vibes and the energy and everything were about the Rockies. And it's just a bummer, just a disappointment. But again, overall, tip of the cap to Germán Márquez. Overall, a great career. I like to use great. That the guy, it's a 16 WAR career. That's a good career. Not going to be Hall of Fame. It's not Cy Young. It's not best, but putting up those type of numbers and having the success and the stretch of success that he had throughout his time with the Rockies is no small feat. We're talking about, a 3.5 WAR season in 17, 4.2 WAR in 18, 2.8 WAR in 19, 1.4 WAR in 20, 2.4 WAR in an all-star bid in 2021, 1.14 WAR in 2022, all before the injury there. I think it's now time for Germán to just look at it. It's different now. The Rockies are not where he needs to. The Rockies are not in a place where he wants to be in terms of this career, outside of maybe being the only option. I guess that's different. And the Rockies need to prove that they can develop the talent that they have and give some more opportunities to these guys. So I don't know, kind of got a little rambly there, but overall, I just wanted to just point out and just say that it was that's a big moment in Rockies history that happened there. Depending on what happens, of course, if he resigns, then we have the same conversation here a year from now. But if that is indeed how it finishes, and it was a solid start outside of giving out the home runs, the issue that's bugged him. He was a total blast to watch when he was on, and a really big contributor and a huge part of those playoff teams. So nothing but the best to him, and nothing but the best to what goes next, including being with the Rockies. Sneeze attack. Sorry, everyone. So if you're wondering on the audio thing, kept it a little bit more subdued, or if you're watching, I had to rush in there and get that sneeze, and I wasn't able to click the mute button. So if you heard anything crazy there, just a sneeze. We're all good. Anyway. Thank you, Germán Márquez. We'll watch you pitch one more time here before the end of the season, but Coors Field, it's a little bit different, especially when at that point, the meaningful bit. I don't actually know. Let's dive into that too. Really interesting storylines for the Rockies here coming up to finish out the season here. Let's dive into that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Nutrafol. Nutrafol is you've probably heard about Nutrafol. Million growth hair growth products, and thought, sure, like that actually works. Because I'm almost positive you've heard about Nutrafol. Why? Because not only there's so many products out there, Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. So you've probably heard about it. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root cause of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. You're going to start noticing less shedding and healthier looking hair after using Nutrafol. And you're going to feel good knowing it is a NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studied product. That's the good parts. All the good news about Nutrafol there. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. Locked On Rockies here, back with you for segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. What's your favorite Germán Márquez memory? Let me know. Put it down in the comments below. What are your thoughts? Did you think the Rockies should pursue a reunion with Germán Márquez? What's going on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies? Let me know in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section there, and fire off those hot takes as we are heading into the final 2 series of the season. And it's a doozy. Being interesting here. I get to watch the old Roccos firsthand for a couple of games here in this series, being out in the Pacific Northwest. And now it's an interesting spot here, because really this moment, this opportunity here is that's really the word. It is opportunity. It's not only an opportunity to shake up the postseason, shake up what's going on, or anything like that, but this is a moment to kind of really to send a statement and to set to kind of set yourself apart from everyone else on the roster. I think this is a moment where if you're the Rockies players, you want to make sure you're taking full advantage of establishing yourself as being capable at this, because you're going up against a roster that's looking to win their first division in over 24 years here, that which they could do in this series against you. And you're doing it against a, on paper, designed to beat you team. The Mariners pitching, they're really good at it. They have a lot of good pitchers, and they have a lot of good, and I know the bullpen's been a little bit shaky, but it's one of those when we've seen when the Rockies have gone up against high caliber pitching, they are easily outmatched. This is your chance to show that you've made the adjustment in the season. This is your chance to show, hey, I was dominated by this guy, or I struggled against this guy, a couple of weeks ago in the division. I struggled against this arm. Instead, you can then point to, hey, boom, I went out and I was able to tag a couple against the Mariners. I was able to go out there and jump on a couple of pitches there against Castillo, against Luis Castillo, against Bryce Miller here. And again, we're seeing the back end of the rotation. I'm wondering if we're going to see Wu there. He was day to day. I don't know. I wonder with where the Mariners are at. I do wonder if the Rockies are going to avoid seeing Wu in the finale, because that's really where they really shine, and the Rockies would be in real big trouble there. We're talking about the second best whip in baseball and the 5th best record overall at 15-7 and a whip of .93. So there's a chance the Rockies do see Bryce Miller, who's got the 5.58 ERA. Only the 68 strikeouts there. And it hasn't been, he's only pitched 80 innings so far this season. And, so the Rockies, this guy, 31 walks, 15 home runs. How many times have we looked at the home run and walk total? Get on base, help your team out, productive. Just make it be a series that's productive. Don't go in there and have it just be the narrative on full display, the issues, the flaws, the concerns on full display, where it's just like road, tough pitching staff. And again, I the numbers are whatever for that. And I'm sure Castillo, let's take a look here at where Castillo has been at this year. 10-8, 3.63 ERA, 1.23 whip, and 152 strikeouts with a 2.71 home ERA. With a chance, with a division clinch, that guy with a vet, that guy who's been, they're dying for that shot. Make it competitive. because this is this is your chance to give you that head start going into spring. Because I don't think there shouldn't be anything really decided about the Rockies roster after 6 games here to finish, and some of these guys' performances limited as they may be. But this should be that head start you're looking for to know, hey, this is what I can do, this is what I'm capable of, and kind of give you, this is what I need to be working on. This is what, when I faced this level of pitching, when I faced this level of, when I faced Castillo there in Seattle, he was really doing this mixed with, you could probably bring in these other examples too. I just think that these are 6 games of opportunity, because it's 6 games that in reality, the Rockies are the cards are stacked against them overall. You have a chance of making things interesting with the Mariners winning the division and when they clinch and what seed they get. And you have a chance to kind of show off and say, hey, I can do this. I'm capable of hitting major league pitching. I'm capable of competing at this level here. So I think it's just that's and I wanted to bring this back up because it was just what we talked a little bit about yesterday. And that's what I think it is. It's every single at bat. While it doesn't matter for the Rockies, it does matter for the rest of the squad, because this is going to be tough. Finishing in San Francisco, these games against Seattle. This is your last. This could be one of your last chances, your last opportunities to impress, and it could be your last opportunity to get some things right. And it's also going to set the table and set the stage for what the move, who are the Rockies going to commit to, what type of stuff, how are they going to approach some of these deals, how are they going to approach some of these contracts, and their philosophies in the offseason. Because the one thing I think that they really need to make sure that they do for these guys, and like I said, I would be shocked if the Rockies make a change of manager and not just promote Warren Schaefer. Would be shocked. You got to make that announcement sooner rather than later, because then you can kind of, if it is going to be Schaefer, then you can let them hit the ground running with that, instead of kind of it being like 2 years in a row where it's kind of like, who's going to be the manager? What's the plan? And I know that Bud Black was brought in. I can't actually remember when they announced that, but it wasn't right away. But it was pretty close if I do remember correctly. But it'd be good to give them the head start into the offseason with that, knowing who's going to be who's going to be in charge and what moves you're going to make. I really do think that if the change is going to come, the announcements need to be made this week. And there's one announcement that Evan Lang writes about over on Purple Row that we're going to talk about here and just kind of look at here as we look ahead and put a bow on this one as we get ready for the Rockies taking on the Mariners here. Like we mentioned, getting ready to open up this series against Bryce Miller, McCade Brown, currently the listed pitcher for the Rockies here on this one. All right, let's take a break, put a bow on this one, finished up. Doing that all next. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. Yes, just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300. That's $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You're going to love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. There's football all over the place. You got the college, you got the pros, you got everything. If you want to get out in the action, if you want to make every last little game exciting, if you want to put a little energy into the last bit of the Rockies games here for this season, check it out on FanDuel. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And remember, when that first $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Check it out, FanDuel.com. All right. Segment number 3 here, Locked On Rockies podcast, putting a wrap up here on this one. And so I kind of want to put a bow on why I've said that like 4 times in the past, like 17 sentences I've said. Throwing it out. I want to read this because I think it summarizes kind of a couple of the themes and a couple of the things that I've seen or said in this podcast, talking about the end of Herman's, the end of the homestand there. And I was going to talk about some attendance stuff too. But I already covered that, I think. That's why I kind of skipped that while we were talking and just kind of focused on Herman. But I also, in the second segment there, we were talking about, this is your audition. This is, and also letting the team know and letting the players know where you're going to be and making those moves sooner rather than later. And I want to read here from Evan Lang's piece, The Rockies Can't Let Avoiding History Be Their Goal. My question now, and this is, I scroll down as he talks about the Rockies wrapping things up. My question now, and I direct this not only generally, but towards Rockies owner Dick Monfort and his front office, is so what? While many of us breathed a collective sigh of relief at having our team's name next to a record, and I know those of you who didn't are out there, it remains icing on a not particularly appetizing cake. The 2025 Colorado Rockies are still one of the worst teams in the modern era for many, many other reasons that will be more exhaustively categorized after the season ends. Even without the worst 162-game record, there was still just so much dubious history made this season. The Rockies were able to regress to the mean of being just regularly terrible instead of historically awful after the All-Star break. The absolute worst thing that could happen is for Dick Monfort and for the Rockies organization to assume that things within the confines of 20th and Blake will improve without swift, severe intervention. He talks about some of the Walker Monfort quotes, including being open to Walker saying that we're open to anything, want to keep it. You got to max it takes to make the Rockies, do whatever it takes to make the Rockies better, maximize the resources. But Evan says this, and I agree. It's time for the Rockies to prove it. The offseason begins for the Rockies next Monday. The very first thing they need to do is announce the departure of general manager Bill Schmidt for reasons that have been discussed at length. Paired with that announcement should be the hire of an evaluator and or a new president of baseball operations from outside the organization. A common name floated for this role is Thad Levine, the former general manager of the Minnesota Twins that started his lengthy baseball career with the Dodgers before working with the Rockies from 1999 to 2005. Another option that recently became available is Matt Silverman. Silverman has been the club president for the Tampa Bay Rays since 2005, but recently announced he would be stepping down from that role in wake of the Rays' sale to a new ownership group. And he goes just before he does some other stuff here, and bringing up a quote here from Patrick Saunders on the Denver Post here. If the Rockies did hire someone such as Levine to review things, I would imagine they would grade personnel in the front office, baseball operations, the coaching staff, and the players. They would see how much money is spent throughout the organization and examine the analytics department, which one person in the Rockies organization recently told me, Saunders, is a decade behind. And it shows how this season has panned out, how Germán Márquez's career has panned out, or post-injury and everything else, and all the player development, how the Rockies' inability to develop talent at first base has panned out, how all of this stuff can go back to stuff like that. The Rockies are a decade at least behind, and it's time for them to prove and demonstrate that that is changing, that is no longer the norm, that this is not going to be the established narrative. And if they're that scared to hire people from outside the organization, then that continues to be the problem. If we only see stuff that happens from promotions from within, not moving, again, I haven't talked a lot about it, but it is abundantly clear that the Rockies sticking with Bill Schmidt is not going to lead to success for this club. This team has to accept, understand, look at this and accept the reckoning and go through with it. Because the amount of change that the Rockies need to be able to get even close to back to competitive, close to the days of the playoffs, it's going to take a lot of work. And at this stage, it is just up for the Rockies to prove it. And it ain't just the players. So it's not just an audition there for the Rockies at for the Rockies players, the young Rockies players. This is now the weeks following the start to the regular season that will set the tone and tell us what the Rockies are going to be all about here going into who knows what next year will look like. Okay, almost out of time, but as you see there, I did write superstition on the overlay for today, and I just wanted to just highlight, the interesting dilemma that I'm in here. Going to these Mariners Rockies games, 2 out of 3. Not going to the whole series, unfortunately. It's a lot. Night games, it's a lot. 3 night games, it's a lot in the way. I don't know, it's just a little. But anyway, I have not seen a Mariners loss yet this year. And I've been to like 6 games. So if you're being superstitious, it does not bode well for our Rockies. But maybe in a weird thing, and since it being the end of the year, it's the Mariners too, it could be all sorts of weird superstition tornado that could twist everything around. But unfortunately, if you are a superstitious baseball person, the Mariners have not lost when I've been in attendance. So that does not bode well for our Rockies. Neither does the matchups. But, hey, you never know. Baseball is an interesting sport. You never know what might happen. And, hey, maybe the Rockies are able to take advantage and get after Bryce Miller here in game 1. Someone, like we said, walks, home runs, stuff that the Rockies can take advantage of in a place that is notoriously difficult for others to hit. Not so much for the Mariners. And we'll see as the Mariners eye their first division title, trying to lock up a spot in the postseason. Folks, that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and the Locked On MLB Game Night Show on the Locked On MLB feeds there as well. We got you covered for Colorado sports, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.